Synders.
Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of the My Movie Fix podcast. I'm your host, Sir, and this here is my safe place. I love talking about movies, and this is a place where I come to get my fix. Today, once again, to help me get my fix is Sam. Welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Whoop whoop, glad to be back. Thanks for having me again.
I had a last minute podcast fix. I was like, come on, Sam, help me out. Can you record tomorrow? She was like, sure. You know, she always comes through the clutch. So I appreciate you helping me get my fix.
Anything for you, Sterling. Anything for you.
All right. Well, tonight on the podcast, we're going to start with our movie fixes, the section of the pod where we let off some hot movie takes we've been holding on to. And then we're moving on to recommendations of something we've seen that we recommend to you guys, followed by a full review. And then, of course, our send-off. Today's episode is none other than the 2011 controversial classic, Sucker Punch. To get us started, let's go ahead and just jump into the how do you like them apples section. So I cannot talk right now. I apologize. I'm just so excited to get podcasting again. But
the excitement's taking over.
Indeed. So you're our guest. So let me drop this bumper.
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
All right. We are officially in the how you like them apples section. So Sam, what is your hot take? What are the apples you want to drop off to the people?
I have so many apples, so many to choose from. But my apple this week, my apple of choice, my sour apple, if you will, is when you're talking about a film that you haven't seen yet and someone just comes up to you and says, "That's shit," just out of the blue. Like, no context, no, "Oh, I've seen that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you know," and then have a discussion about it. Just like, "No, that's shit." And then just never elaborate further on it, just other than like, if you want to watch a shit film, go ahead and watch a shit film. But like no reasons beyond that. Sorry, I'm just hitting things here. I get very animated when I talk, and apparently my hands are slapping things now because I'm just so angry about this one particular apple. But yeah, just unsolicited, unhelpful movie reviews from people that I didn't ask for an opinion from is my big apple this week, because it keeps happening to me and it's starting to get really, really irritating.
See, now that's interesting. When you started talking, I assumed you were going to say, I hate when people spoil the movie for me. But it's not even that. It's just, that movie sucks, and then they walk away.
Yeah. And then it's not even relevant to the conversation that you're currently having. It's just for example, like, what are we going to do this weekend? Oh, this new movie's just come out. We should go see that. Oh, that movie's shit. Don't see it. Okay. Cool. Thanks for that. I still want to see the movie. Like,
so would you prefer?
I'm still going to go watch it.
Well, let me ask you: would you prefer if they said, "Well, that movie's shit because the bad guy was Luke's father at the end," or whatever it is? If they just spoil it for you and ruin the whole movie, what do you prefer? Do you prefer just for them to say it sucks with no response, or if they tell you exactly why it sucks and ruin the movie for you?
I don't want them to give me like a spoiler. I don't want them to be like, "Oh, Luke has his hand cut off and then falls down and you don't know if he's going to survive," whatever, or anything like that. Like, just more of I saw it and it wasn't very good because of something that happens. And then like more of how to say, what's the phrase I'm looking for?
If you're going to tell me something is bad, tell me why it's bad.
Yeah, like, not be like, "Oh, well, this twist happens and it's the biggest twist of the movie, but it's a shit twist." But just be like, okay, well, it gets to a point and you're really enjoying it, but they're hinting towards something, or it's really obvious in its like layout or something like that. Just like, give me something, not just it's shit. That's, yeah.
Sounds like that's happened to you recently and you're done with it.
Yeah, I'm very bitter about it. Yeah, it drives me insane. And in all life, really, just unwarranted opinions that I didn't ask for. I just, yeah, if I want your opinion on something, generally I'll ask for it, which just sounds really weird considering I'm on a podcast that's about movie reviews. So I'm basically giving an unsolicited opinion like every week.
Uh,
But
if
that's just
somebody
besides
clicked
the
play
point.
on
I'll be
this,
hypocritical if I
they're
want to.
interested in your opinion.
True. Okay. That's fair. So that's my bad apples for this week. Pray tell, what are your bad apples for this week?
My how you like them apples take is I was recently not doing a full Marvel rewatch, but I listened to some podcasts where people talking about them, and I kept hearing how much they thought Iron Man 3 was underrated and blah blah blah. And so I hated Iron Man 3 with a passion. When I first saw it, I thought it was the worst ever. And then a few years later, people were saying it was better than expected and blah, blah, blah. So I said, you know what? Let me give it a rewatch. Maybe I was wrong. I rewatched it and I doubled down. I still hate it. So, but I'm not going to go through the whole list of why the movie was terrible. I'm just, my take, my Apple's fix this week is just the ending part where he, so basically in the plot of the movie, a biomedical engineer or whatever creates some kind of superhuman serum that heals heals any wounds you have. If you get your arm torn off, it'll regrow it. It just has the risk of sometimes making you blow up and looks like a bomb or whatever. So that's basically the plot of the movie when the guy wants to come out with this product. Tony Stark, solves a crime, saves the day, what have you, through terrible reasons I'm not going to get into. But the end of the movie, he uses that serum, he fixes it, and is able to take the big magnet thing out of his chest and without shrapnel because he has the big super body healing whatever. And then Pepper Potts, she gets the super body healing stuff and she blows up to think she's dead, but she isn't because she's got the super body healing thing, whatever. And then, they get together and live happily ever after, whatever. So in the world of Marvel, in this universe, they just solve disease, they just solved wounds, they just solved scars. Bodies are no longer they no longer fall apart. There's no longer anything. They've solved everything. They got the formula that does it. And that just never comes back. That's my big issue. We've had 10 movies since then and not, there's no, nothing on the back of the TV. Oh yeah. BT dubs, the population is 20 billion now because nobody dies. They got, Rhodey falls from the sky and breaks his legs and he needs a big machine. It's like, why didn't he just use the big biomedical whatever that Tony has? Why can't he just save his legs now? So like that was just a huge, gigantic plot hole. It's like it just made me frustrated that they just saved Pepper Potts with the super body, body formula, blah blah blah. She's a superhero now, and then they just kind of move on with life. It's like, no, that you just solved all injuries. Like, why aren't you just sending that into the world? Why are there still injuries now? So.
Well, I guess they don't want a population of 20 billion superheroes because that gets kind of out of hand.
Yeah, but then now, what are the ethics of Tony Stark, billionaire, has a super potion body healing and he's keeping it to himself? I want
maybe he's bioengineering it in the background to pull out the superhero side of it. I don't know.
I want to see the protests. I want to see, people are out here dying and you've got a formula to save lives and you're not sharing it. I want to see those protests in the streets. There should be repercussions from having one movie with able to solve all injuries. He fixes the formula and then, credits. It's like, no, that needs to come back.
Affirmative action against Iron Man.
That needs to be a bigger deal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm getting myself riled up. I'm letting go. I just want to drop that. That's my little 2 cents, and I'm moving on. But Iron Man 3 was a terrible movie. I'm doubling down on that take. It doesn't make any sense. The replications don't last, and I'm done.
That's fair. I will accept this. I will accept this. The Iron Man series were never my favorite out of the Marvel movies. I liked them, but they weren't my favorite. And I actually would say Iron Man 2 was worse than Iron Man 3, but I will accept your judgment on this. It makes sense now. It's not anything I've ever thought about. I didn't actually think about them having the super serum and never giving it out. But then you could say that about the super soldier serum that Captain America had, because
Well,
that did exactly the same thing.
Well, his thing was that they only had the one vial, and they used it on him, and then the scientist got killed, and the other vial got destroyed, and then there were like 4 more, and then they used that on the super serum, and that was in Captain America Civil War when they killed the other guys with the super serum. So it's like those are accounted for, Tony Stark's is just we just cracked the formula. We can make as much of this as we want. We're just not going to give it to anybody.
Okay.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to.
I
didn't mean to re-rant.
That's fine. I mean, on that note, let's move on to ranting about our movie of choice this week.
Indeed, yeah. What have you seen? Let's move on to our recommendations section.
Oh, recommendations, yes.
Yeah, what have you seen? What do you recommend to the folks? Something that you want to talk about?
So this week I'm going to recommend something that I'm probably late to the party on. Something that Andrew, my husband, got me into, which is Demon Slayer, the anime that is on Netflix right now, that's based on a Japanese manga series. In Japan, it's like one of the biggest anime series, and there's just been a film released for it that came out last year that we really want to see. I've been watching the English dub on Netflix. It's about a brother and sister who live in like Taishido era Japan, and the sister gets turned into a demon, and the brother takes care of her because she doesn't kill the same way as other demons do. And demons in this universe are like vampires, essentially, with like superpowers. So Tanjiro, which is the brother, becomes this like amazing demon slayer and demon hunter, and he goes around with his sister and they become like a demon slaying duo together and just take over like all of these like demon areas and help clear them out. And there's other hunters that they come across and all this other stuff. It's just really good. I would really recommend anyone who's into mangas that hasn't seen it, anyone who's into like anime and vampires and stuff like that. If you enjoyed, for example, Castlevania on Netflix, the Dracula anime, you probably would really enjoy this too. You've probably already seen it if you're into anime, because it seems to be very popular. I always see people with badges and stuff for it.
Yeah, I watched the TV show. I really dug it. Thought it was dope. So they had the Demon Slayer movie, Mugen Train. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but like apparently that was like the highest box office movie in Japan ever, or something like that. And
yeah,
it was the highest grossing film in the 2020 period. I think let me Google. It made 500 million worldwide, during a pandemic. So big deal. It just came out on VOD like a month ago. I downloaded it. I haven't watched it yet. I'm really looking forward to it, but apparently it's got to be amazing because everybody went to see it. Everybody loves it. Every time I saw somebody talk about it, they said it lived up to the hype. So I can't wait to actually watch it. But yeah, the show was dope. I really liked it.
Yeah, we really want to watch the movie. Like, we love the show in this house. The only problem we have is that Andrew struggles with reading subtitles, so we need to wait for the English dub to come out because he finds it hard to watch things and read at the same time. So
yeah, I don't mind the subtitles. I can listen to dubbed, but it has to be a good dub. And dub is really hit or miss a lot of times. So sometimes it's really, the subtitles don't match the dub, and like the actors are really bad. So it really depends. If it's a good dub, I love it, and if it's a bad dub, I'll just rather read the subtitles. But yeah. Indeed. Okay, so that is Demon Slayer. It's both a TV show on Netflix and a movie. Definitely recommend it. Mine, I got 2. I'm really only going to talk about one. I saw The Green Knight. Didn't really care for it. It's one of those capital C cinema movies. It's very pretty to look at, and it's just kind of, the story is a little weird, and it's more cinema. Have you seen The Green Knight?
I haven't. I've watched the trailer for it, but I haven't watched it yet. It did seem very, like you said, like a true cinema film, a true theater film.
Yeah, I mean, it was very beautiful. The cinematography was out of this world. It was, very pretty to look at. I thought the story was, it was interesting. I just, as a movie, I didn't care for it, but I understand it's Oscar bait type movie. It's the type of movie that people talk about, and people love to say that they saw and all that kind of stuff. I probably wouldn't watch it again. That's all I'm going to say
Yeah.
about the Green Knight. But what I will talk about is *Malignant*. Um,
Ooh,
I
okay.
very much enjoyed that. I actually might do a full episode on it later, so we'll see. But basically, it is a horror slash thriller type movie by James Wan, famous James Wan director that directed a whole bunch of amazing stuff. It is about a woman um, who, not spoiling anything, she is haunted by someone and sees a bunch of murders that happen in real life, and they basically the movie's about how that unfoils, to
Yeah.
say the least. But yeah, it was. I'm not a horror person at all. I don't really like horror movies. They are either real religious themes and they play up the devil worship type of stuff, which I'm not
Yeah.
into. You know, I'm a Christian, or they like it's just jump scares where it's just loud noises and bangs that make you jump, but it's not really scary. So horror movies aren't really my thing. But a friend of mine, Vito, not from Not Your Father's Movies, check that podcast out. He recommended it to me. Said something about the ending, was very much worth watching. So I said, you know what? Let me check it out.
Yeah.
And the ending did not disappoint. The ending did not disappoint in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Like I said, I'm not a horror movie person, but I dug it up to the ending, and the ending just, it's not. It blew me away. I walked away from that like, what did I just watch? I need to
Yeah.
tell people. People need to talk about this. This was a movie, So, did
That's
you see *Malignant*?
I haven't, no, but that's interesting because my How You Like Them Apples this week was because of *Malignant*, because I really want to see it because James Wan is one of my favorite horror directors. The films that he directs are always, the first time I watch them, there's always something in them that just creeps me the fuck out. He's
Yeah,
just so good. And considering he was a student when he directed Saw was just incredible, blew my mind. But yeah, I really want to see *Malignant* because I've heard that it's not a typical horror film.
yeah.
And people that don't seem to like horror films seem to like this film, but all of my the friends and my people that I know that are kind of into horror films have come away saying this is shit and not to watch it. So
Hard
I'm
disagree.
interested to watch it, but so I definitely want to do this and get down to watching it this week because I don't want this one spoiling for me if the ending is truly like that breathtaking. So this week I will be watching it, and I will definitely be wanting to talk to someone about it by the sounds of it.
Indeed. So, okay, so just if you don't know, James Wan directed Saw. He did Insidious. He did The Conjuring 2. I think those are the bigger horror movies. So I've seen all of those. I saw The Conjuring 1, not The Conjuring 2, but it's like
Yeah.
he did The Conjuring as well. So
he directed The Conjuring one, I think. Just
yeah.
produced the second one, I think.
So you kind of get it. You kind of know that vibe. So coming into *Malignant*, I was like, I think it's just going to be one of those, So I wasn't really all that excited, but like I said, my friend recommended it, so I was like, well, there must be worth watching it, and it didn't follow the same path that the Conjuring took. I put it like that. Like I said, I felt like the Conjuring was really more about jump scares. A lot of people loved it. There are a lot of horror fans that dig it, and I didn't. It's more of a loud noises and claps kind of thing to me. But like I said, *Malignant*, very much not that. Like I said, he did *Furious 7*. It's probably one of my favorites of the Furious films. So.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about checking out horror movies, like I said, I guess, people that watch a lot of horror movies, they may watch this and it's not what they're expecting because they're used to the Conjuring 2, type of movie. So they may not dig it as much. But as somebody who isn't a huge horror fan, watching this, I felt like I got the scary parts, the creepy parts, but then like I said, the ending really, really worked for me. So. I'm very, like I said, as somebody who watches horror movies, I'm very much interested to hear what you think about that. So
yeah, I will get on that this week for sure.
Indeed. Okay, so those are our recommendations for this week, and that's it. So without further ado, let's get into the reason why you came here. Let's check out Sucker Punch.
I lost everyone I've ever loved. Then they locked me away, with nowhere to hide from the pain.
All right, that was from the trailer for Sucker Punch, 2011 Zack Snyder film. before we get into it, one of the reasons we're watching this is because I saw you actually posted about it and said this was one of your faves. So before we actually get to the
Yep.
movie, what do why is this a favorite for you? What do you love about it?
Well, I'm a big comic book nerd. I say big comic book nerd. I really like reading comic books and graphic novels. And I actually enjoy Zack Snyder as a director because his movies are always like visual comic books. That's the way he directs things and builds storyboards and builds these universes, is through like comic book style panels and scenes, and just everything is just like watching a good graphic novel. So this one in particular, Sucker Punch, I've always been like a strong female heroic character kind of person anyway. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was like my favorite TV show as a kid. I just love women kicking ass and looking good while doing it. And this movie is pretty much
Yeah,
just women
yeah.
kicking
Everybody
ass and
say
looking good while doing it.
plenty of that in this one.
Yeah. So yeah, and just as well, the soundtrack for it is just hauntingly beautiful. I love everything about this movie. It drew me in. I mean, there are certain Zack Snyder specific gripes that I have that he does in every movie. Every time I watch this, I just get drawn in and I just forget about the world because I'm just imagining being a part of this universe.
Yeah. So for me, this is one of those where, kind of like I was talking about earlier with Iron Man 3, I watched it, when it came out 2011, and I liked it because, it's pretty girls and sexy outfits, and, I dug it for that reason alone. And then, it kind of got a reputation as garbage and people hated it. And, I didn't really, I was like, I remember digging it, but, maybe I watched it for the pretty girls, well, whatever, so. I came back to it like I did for Iron Man. I came back to it years later and rewatched it, and I was like, okay, well, it's not just it's not just girls in skimpy outfits. It's actually got something. So I dug it. I dug it the second time I watched it, so I didn't really get the hate
Yeah.
for it. Rewatching it this time, I kind of got a mix. I understand the gripes, but I still think it's a better movie than people give it credit for. And I think it's just the Zack Snyderisms of it all that people hate.
Yeah.
I think he's just got that reputation for being a certain type of director. And this movie, I mean, this 300 and probably this and 300 are the biggest, Zack Snyder movies. When you think of a Zack Snyder movie, you think of a lot of things that you're going to find in this and 300, a lot of slow motion action scenes and a lot of over the top kind of stuff. So this gets kind of attached to Zack Snyder as a director, and so people kind of, they look down on it. Actually,
Yeah.
I did a whole thing defending when I one of the older episodes when I talked about Armageddon. I did a whole speech defending Zack Snyder and how much I think people hate on him for no reason. And then I went back and listened to it. I was like, wait a minute, Michael Bay did Armageddon, not Zack Snyder. So I had to edit and cut all that, cut all the good things out I said about Zack Snyder, but I still stand by him. I think 300 was great. I think it's just, he doubled down on a lot of that and put it in a lot of movies that I think people don't really appreciate it because it was good for what it was. But yeah, I think Zack Snyder, I think he has a very good style, and I dug this movie for it. So yeah, let's actually get into it. What did you think of this movie? What do you like talking about the actual plot and the mechanics? What do you think of Sucker Punch?
I think it's fantastic from start to finish. The character development that goes into it, with Baby Doll, where she starts out and where she ends up, and the realization she goes through over the film. And then the other girls in the film as well, like the camaraderie that comes about. And I just think it's really beautifully done so just to give a base, spoiler-free synopsis of the film, Baby Doll is a girl who has an abusive stepfather and ends up in a mental institution after an accident. And this film is basically her going into an alternative universe to cope with the stress of being in this mental asylum. So I think that's what makes it most so comic booky, is that in her private world of this, where she creates these epic fantasies in her head so that she can cope with the hell that she's living with. And she's all powerful in these moments, and she's all controlling, and she can do whatever she likes she doesn't have to worry about anything, and she's in complete control. And I think that's the thing that I enjoy the most about the film, is like, it's her realizing that she has her own power. And I think that's a good message for anyone watching. You are in control of your own power, and you have the ability to manifest whatever you want out of your life. You just have to believe in yourself. And I think that's probably why I like the film the most. And I think Zack Snyder does a very good job of putting those messages into pretty much all of his films. He's always got some underlying message in the film that comes out, which I always really enjoy.
It really, I guess I was reading the reviews that came out at the time, and I think people just didn't really appreciate the message it was trying to give, maybe because of the CGI-ness and the skimpy outfits. But I mean, the movie is told from the perspective of her in her head, so it is going to
Yeah,
be a little over the top, a little unreal, just because of what the movie is, so I don't really
yeah.
take away points for that. But I mean, so speaking about the movie in general, rewatching this again, like I said, I've seen this twice now. This is my third time watching it, and I forget about this bananas cast, So let me go top. I say the top 9 names are all names, people you recognize, names you recognize. We got Emily Browning, Vanessa Hudgens, Abby Cornish, Jenna Maloney, Jamie Chung, Carla Gugino, Oscar Isaac, John Hamm, and Scott Glenn. So funny. I was reading reviews. They refer to Scott Glenn as a poor man's David Carradine, which was very funny to me because they kind of look alike. But yeah, so I'm watching this, like, all these actresses I know, all this stuff, and just everybody, nobody kind of phones it in. Nobody. It is a comic book movie, and there are comic book villains in here, and it is a bit I don't know, off the wall at times, but I mean, everybody committed to it, and I think it works for what it is, for what it's trying to say. The movie kind of bookends with I don't know, a poem or a kind of an opening line of basically, there are angels out there to protect us, and they can come on all kind of forms, and
Yeah,
you know, and I think I'm not trying to spoil anything, but kind of what you find out towards the end of the movie is the main character you're watching through the whole time. It's not even necessarily her story. You're watching the story of a side character in somebody else's main character movie, if I'm phrasing that
yeah,
right. So in any other, in the book you'd be watching a different character's story, and this, baby doll here would just be like a side character in her story. But this movie
yeah,
is just focusing on her. It's showing kind of how she came to be who she is, and
yeah,
so I really dug it. I really thought it was dope. Again, I'm a male. I appreciate the skimpy outfits and whatnot, but I think it really is saying something, and I like the. I don't know. I think if this came out in 2021, it would be appreciated better than it would in hindsight, the way it's kind of thought of now. And there
yeah,
are, if you Google Sucker Punch, you'll see articles now, things that people have written in the past, like 2 years, saying, you know what, Sucker Punch wasn't that bad, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So I think the mental tide is changing on it.
Yeah, I feel like it falls into the trap of people always have this idea of a Zack Snyder film, and they feel like they can't like a Zack Snyder film because to other directors he's like lowbrow films, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
he's not Oscar bait. He's not doing these super serious films. He likes doing the comic book movies. He does the Superman movies. He did the Dawn of Justice. He did the Justice League. All his movies, like Watchmen as well, like they're all comic book movies. He brings comic books to life, and he makes them exactly like the comic books. So if you're not into that kind of art, if you're not that into that kind of visual look, then you're not going to really appreciate his style of filming, I don't think. And that goes with the stories as well. Like, he keeps his scripts very comic book like. He keeps his character design very comic book like. So, in a comic book, Sucker Punch kind of would have these skimpy outfits. It would be the girls with the samurai swords in like the skimpy schoolgirl outfits and stuff like that, because that's what comic books have always been in the past. They might be becoming more appropriate now, and giving women more appropriate armor rather than these skimpy outfits. But in the past it's always been that, and I think that's what appealed to me about the film, was that he does keep things very comic booky. So I think that always comes a point with Zack Snyder films where people always shit on them before they know what the film is like, and they'll go into it with these preconceived notions of what the film is going to be like, and then come out with the same notions because they feel like they have to. They don't really give him a chance. That's my feeling on it. Because whenever I bring up Zack Snyder with most people, they're like, ugh, Zack Snyder. Yeah, so.
But yeah, so, I mean, really, there's high level talking about this movie, but there's so much that, I mean, you can't really talk about this movie without talking about the spoilers. And I mean, it came out in 2011, so you've probably seen it already. So the pre-spoiler section here is going to be pretty quick. I just kind of want to dig into it and actually get your thoughts about what's going on in this movie. So if you haven't seen it, go see it and then come back and watch it. But before we actually get into spoilers, do you have any last thoughts you want to share about it?
No, I think I'm going to spoil something if I do. So let's get into it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's better than you remember it being, and you're not. I mean, it's so much about visuals and so much about the acting in it that you're not even really going to hurt yourself if you get spoiled. So go ahead and listen to this full spoiler section. But just so you know, this point forward, we're going into spoilers.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
All right, so basically the way this movie is broken down, it is Inception style. There are 3 layers. Theoretically, there's what's really going on. The stepfather who's basically going to rape her at the beginning of the movie, then decides to rape her sister. And she accidentally kills her sister, fending herself off from the stepfather, and then goes to the mental asylum, in which case, shortly thereafter, we go to layer 2 of the Inception, where it turns into not a brothel, but a dance club, which is basically a brothel in the back. It's just a club. It's just a front to get, for you to pick out the girl you want and take it to the back. And then in the brothel, when she has to dance or when there are, scenes popping up, we go to layer 3 when it's basically the video game aspect of it, when she has to defeat the boss, defeat the level in order to achieve the next step in what she needs to do. So what do you think about that aspect of it? Did that work for you? Is there any of those 3 layers weak for you? What do you think about that?
No, I thought it was really interesting. I liked it because I believe that what was happening in the dance club was actually happening in the asylum. So I believe that they were really like selling the girls to the other workers in the place, because obviously they have that scene at the end where she's been lobotomized and then they get her in a room and stuff, and it kind of connotates that that's what they've been doing the whole time, because I recognize all the nurses and the handlers as being the dudes in the suits and stuff, like, so it's obviously going on in the background. So it's kind of interesting that the 3 layers of this fantasy that she's got going on are really coping mechanisms for things that are happening in the real world, because the character that Oscar Isaacs plays is just insane. He's just fucking creepy and so controlling, and just only in this place because of the power that he has over these girls, who appear to be in this place not through any fault of their own. They just get brought here, and he gets paid to like bring them into the asylum, which is obviously running as like some sort of horrible brothel in the background. So I think it's interesting. I love these layers, and I particularly love the comic book and the gaming style 3rd layers, where they're just going after these goals. Like, the main mission is to get these different items that are going to help them fulfill their mission to escape the asylum. And I think it's fantastic. And I even now, like, I was watching it again, and I was thinking, it's 2011, maybe the CGI is going to be a little bit off. Maybe it's, even though it's not that long ago and things have come a long way, I just thought maybe it would look dated, but it doesn't. It still holds up. It just looks really good, and it keeps me on edge watching it.
Yeah, that aspect of it, kind of how they may not necessarily deserve to be there, and they're getting sold into it. That reminded me of I Care a Lot from Netflix. Came out I think last year with Peter Dinklage and Rosamund Pike, when she basically like she was a broker that sold elderly people into nursing homes to make sell their stuff and make money off of it, and they weren't necessarily ready to be there, and they still have their mental faculties, but they got sold into a mental home, and not a mental home, a nursing home, and you're pretty much stuck there because you control the doctors. The doctors say you're not ready to get out, then the court's not going to let you out. So it's one of those same type of situations. And
Yeah.
but so it really, I think the weakest link for me was that third layer where things got a little mythical and video gamey. I think it really worked like the first time, and then I like the aspect of it, how each trip was a different video game, for lack of a better phrase. One was samurai, where you had to fight the samurai. One was like fighting robots, and then it was steampunk zombies.
Yeah.
I thought the characters were really cool, but it's like, I know she's going to win, quote unquote. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for her to beat up the bad guys. There was no tension. There was no, I wasn't on the edge of my seat as to what was going to happen, and then there were
Yeah.
questions about kind of what's the correlation between what's real life and what's happening here, because in the video game world, you're fighting 50 zombies or whatever. So what are you really doing in real life? Well, what are you really doing in the brothel? And then
Yeah.
what are you really doing in real life? So it's just like, I understand you have to, even when you're dancing, like the samurai thing was when you were dancing. So you're not really fighting anybody. You're just dancing,
Yeah.
And part of me wanted to just, what was the dance? I wanted to see what that looked like. Because,
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh my gosh, she dances so good. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in my head, I'm thinking, is that sex? Is she being, raped at that time? And people were thinking, oh my gosh, she's so good at being raped. Like
Yeah.
it's like, what is really happening right there? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That was weird, but I like the aspect of it as she went in kind of meek, and she's like, you know what, the David Carradine, not David Carradine, Scott Glenn was like, these are your weapons, you can do this, and she found the fire within herself to beat the samurais, and she became the
Yeah.
leader. So I mean that was a cool aspect of it. It just the correlation between what that represented was, I guess that wasn't fully fleshed out to me.
Yeah, I get it. I always did wonder as well, like watching it, what was actually happening when she was in this other world. Like, was she actually fighting in real life, or was she just doing like this really over the top artistic dance where she's like jumping around the place and fighting imaginary people, or is she just doing some really seductive dance that,
Because somebody was talking about the moans, and she was like, she's crude, she's not polished yet, or something like that. So what was she actually doing? Part of me wanted to just know what the dance she was doing was on stage, but then again, like I
Yeah.
said, the mayor ended up being a character that was trick. I hate saying rape, because it's a trigger for some people, but yeah, basically some of the girls were getting raped in the back. So like,
Yeah.
what was happening in the back to where she was fighting zombies or dancing, or so it's just like that correlation was weird. I don't know if I'm supposed to be rooting for her beating the zombies, which in real life means she's having sex really good. Getting raped really. How does one get raped really good? So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a big complaint a lot of people had about this movie in particular. But I think to me that's a failure in just kind of relaying the message of what's going on, not necessarily
Yeah.
a bad movie. I just think maybe it's open for interpretation or something like that. So
Yeah. She must be doing something like incredible, because there's like one of the dances that she does, one of the scenes afterwards, Oscar Isaac's character Blue was like crying. I think it's the mare dance.
yeah,
Like that's the one with the dragon. Like he's like crying. He has tears in his eyes after they're finished. So like she must be doing something that's like a really emotional or erotic dance or something. But I would be
Yeah.
interested to find out. Maybe she's like maybe she has a superpower and she's actually like showing them this world. Maybe
Yeah.
she's creating the world and showing them. That would be interesting. But I doubt that's what's actually happening.
Yeah, but I mean, that aside, just on a pure movie watching level, I did, it was still cool to see the different character designs of the bad guys and how when you stab the steampunk zombie, steam came out and, you got to shoot the robots. And, I thought all that was
Yeah.
pretty cool, but it felt a bit samey, kind of on the third or fourth one where you're just kind of, well, she's going to, there are 50 bad guys, but I'm not, she's going to beat them. So you
Yeah.
kind of lose that a little bit of it, but. I did think the samurai fight was really cool though. I love that did remind me of 300 to where it kind of you got the slow-mo motion parts and she jumped up in the air with the fire in the background. A lot of those look like they could be wallpaper stills. It looked really really dope visually.
Yeah.
I did like that aspect of it. But all right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that actually I kind of felt like there was a lot of tension in the fight scenes myself, because like if you're watching it for the first time, for example, going into it, you don't know that she's gonna survive the samurai things, because when you see them, they're fucking huge. So you're like, how is she gonna take these down with like a sword? But then and then the dragon one is kind of like a team effort thing. That's when they become like the team that's glued together, because they do really well at working together and achieving their goal. And then in the robot one, they lose one of the girls. Yeah. So it's kind of like with the first time watching it, I didn't realize that she was going to die. So it was kind of like I really felt for the sister, like losing her, because she really didn't want to be a part of this mission because she was scared of them getting hurt. And the sister that really wanted to be a part of it to escape ends up being the one that dies. So I kind of felt that. So I think you're kind of falling into the trap of like, you've seen it too many times now, so you know that she's going to be fine. Whereas watching it the first time, it's kind of more of a, oh my God, what's happening kind of thing.
In fact, let's table that for a second. We'll dig into that for a second. But I want to get into the dragon one because I felt like that was trying to say something, but I don't really know what, because she had to kill the baby dragon. And then the mother dragon was heartbroken about her baby dying, and she had to kill the mama dragon. I feel like, we're supposed to empathize with the dragon a little bit, but I don't.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like that was supposed to be saying something about what was happening in real life, but I didn't know what. So part of me empathized with the dragon. I was still rooting for her to win, and kill the dragon or whatever. But I feel like I'm missing a layer of what the movie's trying to tell me with that.
Yeah, I don't know whether if that was like her coming to terms with her sister dying. I don't know whether that was I can see what you're saying. It's not really clear, but I did feel like there was something more going on there, because I did feel for the dragon and I did feel for the baby, because it was just an innocent bystander. It didn't need to die.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the movie was saying she had to kill part of her innocence to become who she needed to be to escape the place or something like that. And it was just making her stronger, but I don't know. I feel like it was a bit muddy, but coming back to that other scene, one thing I did kind of, I didn't remember it like this, so it was a surprise to me, but pretty much everybody died. The only one that actually got away was, the sister that was kind of a bitch at the beginning, She was like, she didn't want to do it in the first place, and she wasn't really with the plan. She wanted to quit the plan, but everybody else that was trying to actually actively fight didn't end up getting away. So what I really, her sister, I did kind of see that coming where she was going to die a little bit, kind of, because she was just so, I'm going to do whatever, and we're already dead. So I felt that vibe, but it was actually a shock to me, the other two getting killed, Vanessa Hudgens especially. So it's just like, how do you feel about that? What is that trying to say when, the only one that actually got away is the one that kind of wasn't really all that interested in it?
Yeah, it does seem kind of like sad, really. The one that really didn't want to be a part of the plan is the only one that survives, because it's like everyone else sacrificed themselves for this, for you to get out, and you're the only one that didn't really want anything to do with it. But she does become like a really handy member of the team.
Yeah. And so what we were talking about earlier with basically this was really Sweet Pea's movie. Like if this was a book, it'd be Sweet Pea's book story about how she became, she got torn away from her family. She was forced into a brothel, and then she kind of adapted to life at the brothel, became like the head whore, for lack of a better term or whatever. And then her guardian angel, fought and she lost her sister and, escaped, so I felt like that was book one of Sweet Pea's story, but we just, like how at the beginning of the movie, they're talking about everybody has their guardian angel. It can come in any kind of form, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
kind of, this was Baby Doll's movie, but I feel like this was really Sweet Pea's story. So it's just like, what are your thoughts about that? Like kind of how he made the movie about, how the side character came to be and ultimately the side character's demise.
Yeah. I honestly believe that at the end of the movie, that whole thing where afterwards she escapes and she's on the bus, I believe that's in Baby Doll's head. Like, I don't think that actually happened. I think that's just what Baby Doll's imagining after she's been lobotomized, is that she did all this and her friend is now going to have a happy life away from everything and be happy and never see them again. So I don't think we actually ever I don't think we ever actually know what happens to Sweet Pea once she gets out of the gate. But I do find it interesting that she passed off the story and she almost decided to just live as a lobotomized person. She wanted to live in that fantasy world where she could control everything and not have to be a part of reality. I feel like that whole scene where John Hamm at the end, where the high roller, he's doing the lobotomy and then he's like, oh, she looked at me like she wanted me to do it. Yeah, like I believe that. So I'm not entirely, I feel like it is a side character's film and telling the story of the other girl, but then at the same time I almost feel like it is Baby Doll's story, but she passes off the narrative because she doesn't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
You could feel like her way of this was her way of escape. It was, what, I know it's going to happen. And it's like a City of Angels where you just fall from the skyscraper. It's just, I'm going to let this happen. I'm not, I'm accepting it is what it is. And that's her version of peace or whatever. And
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about because the Scott Glenn character, like, I don't know if he's supposed to represent God or the author or what have you, because he's been in Baby Doll's dreams up until that point, but he's the bus driver at the end. So it's just like, is it that makes you doubt, is this really happening, or is he like, the God or the narrator, or has he jumped from one person's story to another person's story and is kind of, guiding it on, so I guess that is a bit ambiguous because when she was driving away, it did look, ethereal. It didn't look like with the real world when she was, with the stepdad and when she killed her sister. All that was kind of blue. It had a blue tint to it. But when Sweet Pea was driving away, it had that kind of orangish vibe of the brothel era. So it just kind of made you doubt whether this was really happening. And because I kind of see how you were seeing it as maybe this is just Baby Doll's envisioning. And they did say that she escaped. Fear did say she escaped, so we know she got out, but we don't know kind of what happened at that point, whether they got her back or what's going on. And
I feel like that's definitely Baby Doll being like, oh, this is what happened. She's fine. She's escaped and she's gonna live a happy life. But I feel like maybe she's just off out in the world trying to find anything that works for her. But I do feel like Baby Doll kind of realized halfway through that she didn't know why she was fighting to get out of the place anymore when she didn't have anything to go back to. Whereas Sweet Pea and Rocket still had family out there that were looking for them. Yeah. So that was why they were trying to get out so bad. So I do feel like Baby Doll kind of realized like halfway through, like, this fight isn't for me, it's for the other girls in this place that don't deserve to be here and still have people out there that love them. And then at the end of all this, I can be the one that stays behind because I don't have anything left for me and I can live in this fantasy world, and being lobotomized is just an easier way out than having to live with what she'd done, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that is, at the end of the day, she did accidentally kill her sister. So it's just like, that's going to be hard to live with no matter what. But yeah. So speaking of the doctor, I think my last thought here is one thing that did kind of sour me on the movie a bit is how they tried to make, because Oscar Isaac was clearly a bad guy. Everything he did was bad. He doubled down on bad. He killed people, point blank period, he was a bad guy. But they tried to soften everybody else. The
Yeah.
doctor, she called the police when she realized her signature was forged. And then the orderlies, like clearly they had been taking girls back there all the time, but it just so
Yeah.
happened with Baby Doll, we're not going to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Do it anyway. Okay, I'll do it. So it's
Yeah.
like they tried to soften the orderlies at the end and kind of tried to give the doctor a bit of redemption at the end. But I mean, they've been doing this whole time. Nothing. Baby Doll.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Baby Doll kind of trying to escape kind of made them second guess everything. But they've been taking girls to be raped in the back room this whole time. They've been abusing people this whole time. So
Yeah.
you don't get a free pass because you were kind of against it at the very end. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt weird to me how they tried to make everybody second guess things at the end.
Yeah, I just put that down to Baby Doll just being more violent than the others, I guess, more of a fighter. And then after seeing her lobotomized, where she doesn't fight anymore and she just sits there and looks dormant, they were kind of like, "Oh God, what are we doing? Because this is not the same girl anymore. This is a fucking zombie of a human." Like, kind of a realization of what they're actually doing to these girls is the way I seen it in my head, or saw it in my head. Sorry, that was terrible English.
I think it really speaks to Oscar Isaac's depravity because he was like, I want you to fight. I want to subdue you. I want to own you. If you don't fight back, this isn't fun. This isn't right. This isn't what I wanted. So it's just like that. It really speaks to how gone he is. And
he is definitely just a psychopath, like wanting to physically overpower these women to show them who the boss is, and just a terrible person. Yeah, he's really disgusting in this movie, but he's a great actor for making me feel that way. I feel like as well that he would have been reading the script and feeling disgusted with the character as well. Like I feel like it would have been a challenge for him to have to play someone so gross.
Yeah, he's on top 5 favorite actors. I love everything he's in. So yeah.
Oh yeah, he's great. I love Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, okay. I think that's pretty much it. We've ran through this. You have any final thoughts before we wrap up Sucker Punch?
Just watch it. Like if you have avoided watching it because it's a Zack Snyder movie, or you've avoided watching it because you've heard other people say that it's a terrible movie, I say ignore them and watch it anyway, because if for nothing else alone, the soundtrack is amazing. Emily Browning does covers of Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics and other things, and they're just hauntingly beautiful songs that are really good acoustic versions that fit really well with the style of the movie and how visually stunning it is. And it's always tied in with those Zack Snyderisms of slow motion and like really emotional scenes. They're very dark and graphic scenes. It's like a really long music video, essentially. It's a movie of music videos. And I just have to say my favorite track out of all of it is the one from the mayor scene where he walks into the room and it's like I Want It All, I Will Rock You mashup with like a rap. It's so good. And it's such a badass song. I think about walking into rooms with that song on all the time. I love it. Do you have any final thoughts on it? Like,
no, same with you. Like, I just, if you haven't seen it because of Zack Snyder, give it a shot. Like I said, I mean, obviously if you've listened to this point, you know what it's about. you know whether you're going to be into it or not. So I definitely think, if anything else, give Zack Snyder a shot. He made my favorite comic book movie of all time, Man of Steel, which is very underrated. It is the best Superman movie ever made, in my opinion. So yeah, Zack Snyder's underrated. Well, Zack Snyder is exactly rated as he should be. Not over or under, and this movie was pretty good. But yeah. So that is our review of Sucker Punch. So where can people find you online?
You can find me online at justbase. That's at just and then BASS on Instagram. And you can also find me on Twitter, if I can remember my handle, because I'm trying to use that more now, which I believe is at Sam_JAYNE. At Sam_Jane with a Y is me.
Okay. And also Loud Thumbs Network. I think you guested on that recently. Is that
Absolutely. Right? I want to shout out the Loud Thumbs Network, Loud Thumbs podcast. Loud Thumbs the movie reel. I've been on there a couple of times recently with my friend Nick. Well, I've been on once. I'm going to be on again soon, hopefully. So if you want to hear me talk about my favorite movie ever, which is The Fifth Element, you should go check that out because we talk very deeply into that. And I've had a couple of people tell me that listening to that review has made them see The Fifth Element in a completely different light. So you should definitely go listen to us on that.
Indeed. All right. And me, obviously, follow me on Twitter at MyMovieFixPod. You can email me at MyMovieFixPodcast@gmail.com. And recently, I actually just threw everything up on YouTube. Right now, it's just the audio with a logo in the background, but some people prefer to listen to it on YouTube versus like Spotify or whatever podcast form. So you can find me on YouTube as well. Subscribe. You can find the link on my Twitter page because you got to have at least 100 subscribers before I can get a personalized YouTube channel name or whatever. So find me there, subscribe, and again on YouTube as well as Twitter and Spotify, everything else. All right. So final segment of the show is our send-off. This is a little gift bag, goodie bag, something that brought us joy during the last week or so, something we want to give to the listeners that'll bring them joy. So, Sam, do you have a goodie bag for our listeners?
I do. I really want to encourage people to listen to original soundtracks to movies without the actual movie on. So, for example, Spotify has them a lot. You can look up composers. All different composers on Spotify all have their soundtracks on there. So one of my favorites is James Horner. He did the soundtrack to Braveheart, for example. And I just like to lay on a really comfy couch or out in the sun or on my bed and just listen to soundtracks and just let the music wash over me and just forget about everything that's going on in the world because it just brings me peace. And I think everyone needs a little bit of peace. And these original soundtracks with the orchestras are just so moving. They bring so much emotion through you. They make you feel uplifted or sad or happy, depending on what's happening in the movie that you particularly choose. Braveheart is a particularly beautiful one. Gift of a Thistle is a very beautiful song that I recommend everyone listen to. So my my goodie bag for this week is music on Spotify or YouTube or anywhere that you get your music from, original movie soundtracks. Go check them out and give them a listen because the music in movies needs to be more appreciated, in my view.
Indeed, the Black Panther soundtrack is probably
my most
played soundtrack, and I don't know how long. I love the score too, and I can listen to the score from Interstellar, just like that's background music, and so definitely love that.
Hans Zimmer is up there as one of the greatest composers.
Absolutely. All right, so my little goodie bag is a bit of a downer, but an upper at the same time. Recently, I don't know how long it is when I post this, but a few days ago, Norm McDonald passed away. I would say one of my favorite comedians. I think I'm, more of I like quicker humor, but I mean, I always like listening to his stuff. He was very funny. He's got that quick wit that, he just, everything he says is funny. It's just like he's not trying to tell a joke. He's just one of those guys that when he talks, you're just smiling, waiting for him to finish the sentence. So definitely enjoyed Norm McDonald. But one of the things is Sean O'Neill on Twitter posted the final chapter from his book. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read the tweet. It says, I think about these 2.5 pages from Norm McDonald's book constantly. When I reviewed it, I wrote that they would make a fine eulogy and to swear I didn't mean anything by it, but they do. And they do. I mean, it's a beautiful, just kind of a few pages about who he is and how people kind of will always think of him as the guy from Saturday Night Live, but just kind of, even if they do, that's just part of who he is, but he's very appreciative of it and how he thought he was going to be, just a blue collar worker all his life. So he's just so blessed. I don't know. I'm doing very much injustice to it, but I definitely think you should check it out though. I retweeted it on my Twitter at MyMovieFixPod. So check it out there. And his book is called Based on a True Story by Norm McDonald. So definitely recommend you check that out as well.
Yeah.
But I'm up to 12 followers. So if 12 of you listening to this, check it out on my Twitter feed. But if not, go follow me and you can find it there. But that is it for this week. definitely like, subscribe, review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends about it. If they don't like movie podcasts, lie to them and tell them it's a book podcast or history podcast, whatever it is they do like. But yep, that is it for us this week. Thank you again for joining me, Sam.
No problemo. Thank you for having me on, Sterling. I always have a great time with you.
Indeed. I love having you. So
Yay.
That's it for us. And I got my fix. Are you going to do the goodbye? I heard you do. You gotta give me goodbye.
Goodbye.